Okay, let me get a share screen going here. I use this line feature, these path corners, uh, and the procedurally generated baking, or the runtime baking of procedurally generated terrain with a maze program that I found somewhere um, to kind of lead you through a maze. Um, this, of course, depends on being able to build the maze with a program and then bake it at runtime. There are a number there are a number of different cases here. In one, the maze is run automatically. In another, we can point and click and choose where we want to go in the maze. And then in several others, I've set it up so that the player has a NavMesh agent that's calculating the solution, but we have the navigation turned off so that we're still controlling the character. Uh, uh, and this is done by setting the agent is stopped to be true. That turns it off. Um, and there's also some with no helpers whatsoever. So first of all, the procedurally generated maze, which I won't bother to explain how it works. This is an example of it just kind of generating mazes as it goes. It has different kinds of walls and doors, and it builds these uh, with appropriately colored walls so that facing north, the walls are always yellow. Facing south, they're always magenta. Uh, Facing east, they're red, and facing west, they're blue. This is a nice feature to make to give your player some sense of orientation within the maze. So anyway, here's the self-running maze. So it starts over here. Its end position is over here. It's a procedurally generated maze. And using NavMesh, it finds the pathway and our character navigates automatically through the maze until it gets to its destination. Here's one with uh, it starts off headed for this corner, but if I point and click various places, it recalculates the path and finds a different way to get to the different places. And it's very interesting to kind of see how the pathways evolve as you ask for different places. Here versus uh, here made for really different paths as we navigate throughout our world. So the other thing that I did here is, um, uh, as I mentioned, turn off the NavMesh and have it uh, have it enabled but stopped, so that we're now controlling the character. And so now we're in here driving our character around. There's that line that is going to lead me through the maze that shows me the way to get to where I'm going. If I don't follow its instructions and go off in some other direction, it always keeps the path set for where it is that I'm supposed to go. So that's all cool. Um, an alternative is to take each of those corners, each of the path corners, and put a light there. And so now, instead of an explicit line leading off into the distance, I have these lights that lead me on, and I just follow the lights and it will ultimately lead me to the destination of this maze. And you can put anything you want at the corners. Uh, um, uh, that was with lights, but here's one where I have particle effects at the corners. Where are they? There they are. So at the corners, there are particle effects that lead me on to the different, through the maze, following these little sprites as we go. Incidentally, the doorways have lights in them. That's just part of the maze. Uh, but if I head back the wrong way, there's a light, but my path is back this way. This is what wants to lead me to the ultimate goal. And of course, uh, in the alone with no helpers, now I got to find my own way. Alone with no helpers in the dark. This is, of course, much harder. And so, pretty cool what you can do with NavMesh. They're not just for AIs, they're also for characters who need some instruction for where to go. I'm going to stop sharing there and I'll come back in and finish up talking about crowds. End recording, see you in class. Bye.